So, hello students, welcome to the World Literature class again. So, as we have studied yesterday, the two works from World Literature, that is Oasia, and the second is Libation Bears, that is, and now we are going to study the third work of this trilogy, and the third work is Eumendes, as I have mentioned yesterday also. This is written by Achilles. Titles basically the kindly ones or the gracious ones. Just remember this also. What is the meaning of the title? The kindly one or the gracious one. In this play, Orestes is hunted down and tormented by the furious and trio of goddesses known to be the instruments of justice, who are also referred to as the gracious ones. Remember this also. Then, the most important part about this work is that this play illustrates how the sequence of events in the trilogy ends up in the development of social order or the proper judicial system in Athenian society. Remember this, in which play illustrates the sequence of events in the trilogy, which ends up with the development of social order. Okay, remember this also. Setting before the temple of Apollo at Delphi and in Athens. Just don't get confused between the settings of other works. Just try to remember the setting of the works with the help of a trick. Okay, firstly I'll complete the whole literature, then I'll give you some tricks to remember the settings. We will relate the setting of the work with the title of the work. Okay, so what's in the opening scene and the closing scene? Opening scene, the play opens with the Pythia, the priestess of Apollo, preparing to perform her morning prayer. Her ritual is interrupted, however, by the bloodshed refugee who has come to her temple to be cleansed, and it is Orestes, the son of Agamemnon and Clytemnestra, who killed his mother in order to revenge the murder of his father. Same as we are reading the trilogy, so these lines are also related to the previous two works. Closing line, in closing line, Athena wisely offers the Furies of a new role, patron goddesses of Athens. She explains that if they provide the city with peace and prosperity, they will receive offerings and prayer in the return. And just remember this also, which work have the closing scene or the closing lines about the kindly ones. Okay, so this work is Eumendes by Achilles. Some major characters are there. First is Orestes, whose name was used to entire the trilogy in the only fully human. अकेला ऐसा फुली ह्यूमन कैरेक्टर है इस ट्रायलजी में जिसके नाम को एज अ टाइटल भी यूज़ किया गया है. And he is the son of Agamemnon, king of Argos, and his wife Clytemnestra, both of whom are dead by the point. Next is chorus. Chorus is, as I have already stated, is group of someone, maybe old people, maybe women, maybe singers, maybe women, anyone. इसमें क्या है, as in most dramas, chorus is one of the most active players in Eumendes. In this play, chorus is comprised of Eurysakai Greek goddesses who are said to inhabit the underworld and to punish familiar murder. Next is Apollo. Apollo is the Greek god of sun. Remember this also. Sometimes there may be a question, who is Apollo the Greek? I am not relating it to this work. Just remember it and go through it also. Apollo. Just go on Google or Chrome and just search. Who is Apollo? Greek god of the sun, music and prophecy, comes to Orestes in his defense against the Furies. The god feels particularly responsible for the prince's actions, since it he thou semi-divine priest and oracle, and instructed Orestes to avenge his father's death. Just go on Google and search about the story of Apollo. You will find the story of this. Okay, and just try to read that. Basically, traditionally, Apollo is and his twin Artemis Roman were born in the isle of Delos from Apollo, Delphi, where he slew Python and the serpent that guarded the area. He established his oracle by taking on the guise of dolphin and leaving this ship, forcing to serve him. ओके कुछ फैक्ट्स भी हैं अपोलो के बारे में, क्या है, कौन है, किससे शादी होती है, शादी नहीं होती है अपोलो की, किसका किसके साथ रिलेशनशिप होता है, डेफिन को पसंद करते हैं, वो सारा एक बार जस्ट गो थ्रू करना है. नेक्स्ट, Orestes flees to Athens where he hopes to find the shelter as a supplement of city's patron goddess of wisdom also. Okay, next work is our this Cherry Orchard by Anton Chekhov. This is also a very important work. The Cherry Orchard. Just remember, Cherry Orchard is written by Anton Chekhov. Sometimes you may find a very simple question in your exam and you don't even know the answer of that. Okay, just try to learn small things, or just try to cram small things also. Like context, the last play by the Russian playwright Anton Chekhov, written in 1903. It opened at Moscow Art and January 17, 1904. I am not forcing you to learn these dates written in 1904 or 1905, 1904 or 3 or these. Just try to remember or try to make a trick. Okay, from that trick we will remember only the chronology of the works. Later, in the later videos, I'll tell you. Setting is the early part of 20th century Russia. Then the opening and closing scene, most important. The play begins in the room that is called a nursery, even though as we find out it has been unoccupied by the children for many years. नर्सरी का सीन है और ऐसे लगता है कि काफ़ी सालों से अनऑक्यूपाइड बाय चिल्ड्रन है. इट इज़ डॉन ऑन अ कोल्ड एंड फ्रॉस्टी मे मॉर्निंग इन द चेरी ट्रीज. क्लोजिंग सीन में क्या होता है? फॉर सिट ऑन डाउन ऑन द काउच कॉलिंग हिमसेल्फ अ निनकम्पू. Remember this also, important word. You can, like, someone may ask, who is this word is used in the closing line of which work? So remember this, that this word is used in the closing line of the Cherry Orchard by Anton Chekhov. Basically, nincompoop means a foolish or a stupid person. Remember this. The play ends with another sound that of an axe striking in the tree of the orchard. So characters are Mrs. Luba Renevsky, and Mrs. Renevsky is the middle-aged Russian woman, owner of the estate. Her first name is Luba, means love. Remember this also. I don't remember the year, but I think in 2020 there's a question. Tell us the full name of the protagonist of the work. Okay, remember Mrs. Luba Renevsky. Next is Yarmole Lopukin, a businessman and the son of peasants at Renevsky estate. He is a middle-aged but somewhat younger than Renevsky. His grandparents were in fact owned by the Renevsky's family before freedom was granted. Next character is Leonid Gave. Leonid Gave is Renevsky's brother. Remember this also. He has several intriguing verbal habits. He frequently describes tricky billiard shots at the odd and inappropriate times. याद रखना, who frequently describes the tricky billiard shots at the odd and inappropriate times. मतलब कोई सही टाइम नहीं है, inappropriate times और tricky billiard से किससे आप इसको relate कर सकते हो? तो Leonid Gave. Remember his full name also. Next is Varya. Varya is Renevsky's adopted daughter. Remember this also. She is not real daughter. She is adopted daughter who is 24 years old. और वो किसको पसंद करती है? Lopukin को. She is in love with Lopukin, but she doubts that will ever propose to her. Okay. So and next is Anya. Anya is the basically Renevsky's biological daughter. ये इनकी बेटी है, biological daughter है. Anya is 17 years old. She seems to live इतना मतलब माइनरली आपको करना नहीं है कि उसकी एज भी आपको करनी हो. इतना नहीं ठीक है. Anya and Tofki become so close that Anya feels that they may become romantically involved. Next is Peter Trofimov, a student at the local university. He knows Renevsky from touring son Grisha before he died. Lopukin refers to Trophy as a इटर्नल स्टूडेंट इसको ये बोलते थे. नेक्स्ट इज बोरिस नोबल मैन है, फेलो लैंड ओनर है लाइक रेनेवस्की. नो नीड टू रिमेंबर दिस नेम. शार्लोट अन्याज गवर्नेंस. रिमेंबर दिस नेम. शार्लोट कौन है? अन्या की गवर्नेंस है. शार्लोट ट्रैवल फ्रॉम टाउन टू टाउन परफॉर्मिंग द ट्रिक्स. और अन्या कौन है? इनकी बायोलॉजिकल डॉटर. फिर कौन है, रेनेवेस्कीज 8-year-old मेड सर्वेंट है. देन साइमन इज द क्लर्क एट द रेनेवेस्कीज एस्टेट. ये भी आपको लर्न करना है. याशा इज द यंग मैन सर्वेंट इन ट्रेवलिंग with Renevsky ever since she left for France. Then Dunyasha is the maid on the Renevsky estate. She functions mainly as a foil to Yasha. Okay, her innocent naivety. Just remember this also, that there is a word foil. Okay, there is a word used, foil. Remember this also, like who is Dunyasha? ओके, रिमेंबर दिस, हु इज़ दुनियाशा. दुनियाशा से हम इसको रिलेट कर सकते हैं मेड ऑन रेनेवेस्कीज एस्टेट. उस एस्टेट पर एक मेड है. शी फंक्शंस मेनली एज फॉयल टू याशा. फॉयल इज बेसिकली लाइक ऑपोजिट. ओके, टू टू प्रिवेंट समबडी फ्रॉम सक्सीडिंग, और स्पेशली लाइक टू कट समवन, है ना. हम इसको इस तरीके से भी यूज़ कर सकते हैं. तो फॉयल बेसिकली क्या होता है, देन किसके लिए फॉयल है ये आपको याद रखना है. यू हैव टू रिमेंबर दैट फॉयल टू याशा, हर इनोसेंट naivety लव फॉर हिम, emphasizing and making clear his cynicism and selfishness. That's it. Next work is The Seagull by Anton Chekhov. Also, this work is also written by Anton Chekhov. The Seagull. Remember this also. What is the significance of this title? Significance of this title. If there is not any significance, then what is the meaning of this seagull? What is seagull? किसी भी वर्क को करने से पहले फर्स्टली उसका टाइटल ही देखो. व्हाट इज़ इट्स मीनिंग, व्हाट इज़ इट्स सिग्निफिकेंस, कौन उसके राइटर हैं, क्यों इसने इसका ये टाइटल रखा, कब रखा, कितने टाइम पीरियड के लिए रखा. वैसे बेसिकली क्या होता है, सीगल is a bird that lives near the sea, and he has some short legs, long wings, and white in color, and with grey feather. Okay, so sometimes also seagull also represents a cunning or preservance, fearfulness, survival, freedom. You have लाइक आप लोगों ने सुना ही होगा कि सीगल को किस तरीके से बोलते हैं कि कनिंग से उसको वो सिंबलाइज कर रहे हैं, सर्वाइवल, फ्रीडम कि इन चीज़ों से वो इसको रिलेट कर रहे हैं. सो लेट्स सी व्हाट इज़ इन दिस वर्क. फर्स्टली context, written in 1895 and produced in 1896. Opening night of first production was the famous failure, and Vera playing Nina was so intimidated by the hostility of audience that she lost her voice. सेटिंग कहाँ है इसकी, रशियन 19th सेंचुरी है, सॉरेंस कंट्री एस्टेट में इसकी सेटिंग है. ओपनिंग एंड क्लोजिंग सीन, इट इज़ आफ्टर द सनसेट एंड मेक शिफ्ट होम मेड स्टेज स्टैंड्स इन द आउटडोर सेटिंग ऑफ द सॉरेंस प्रोविंशियल रशियन एस्टेट एंड फार्म. देन द क्लोजिंग सीन इज Trigorin's story of a girl who falls tragically like a seagull at the hand of the man who has nothing better to do than destroy and predict Nina's fate. Then there are some major characters mentioned here. First is Trepliev. Trepliev is Arkadina's only son. Only way to remember these titles, like these characters, is just to prepare a flow chart of these. Okay, just try to make a flow chart. Who is Trepliev? Is Arkady's only son. He struggles to find his voice as a writer in the shadow of his successful actress mother and her love writer Trigorin, both of whom are the member of, किससे बिलोंग करते हैं, elite Russian intelligentsia and artistic community. Next is Irenia. Who is Irenia? Arkadina, a protagonist of The Seagull. This is the protagonist of this work, a renowned Russian actress who stars in grand melodrama play. She is the mother of Trepliev. Okay, यहाँ से देखो एक चार्ट बन चुका है. This is son, this is mother, son, mother. Next is Nina. Nina is 19-year-old neighbor of Sorin's estate, which, remember this, Sorin is the setting of this work. Nina, 19-year-old neighbor of Sorin's estate who grew up in the estate bordering the Sake Lake as a backdrop of the play. She is वन ऑफ द 4 प्रोटैगनिस्ट ऑफ द प्ले। जो 4-5 जो भी जितने भी हमारे इसमें प्रोटैगनिस्ट हैं उनमें से ये हमारी एक है। Next is Boris. Boris is the next character. Boris is basically the Arkadin's lover, and Trigorin, one of the 4 protagonists, and is an uh, esteemed Russian writer of the fiction stories and novel. This is also very important. Just remember, who is an esteemed Russian writer of fiction stories and novels. Okay, this is Borin Trigorin. He begins as a dutiful lover to Arkadin but becomes tempted by the youthful beauty, optimism and flattery of the Nina. Sorin. So next character is Sorin. Sorin is 16-year-old landowner of the estate. Who is Sorin? Sorin is 60 years old landowner. Okay, remember this, 60-year-old landowner of the estate where the play takes place. He spent his life working for the government office and retired to his country from. No, he, not a major character, but just remember his name, his name. Then is Dorn, Dorn, is a local doctor who was once popular and handsome ladies man. An outsider perspective of the play, function almost desires and stage, but important as fluid observer and commentator. Next is Masha. Masha is the daughter of Pauline and Charmian, the manager of Sorin's farm. She wear all black all of the time because she is depressed and hates her life. Remember this character. Who is the character, or name that character, who is always depressed and hates his life, who always wears black, who a heavy drinker, a snuff addict? Masha represents unequated feelings of the traveling torment. Masha belongs to the work Seagull, and the Seagull is written by Anton Chekhov. And Masha gives disappointments in life and accepts them, surviving the unfulfilled dream with the hope of change. Next is Haila. Mavya is the father of Masha and the husband of Pauline. He acts as the manager of Sorin's father. That's it for today's lecture. Just I am giving you like the overview. Okay, overview of everything. Overview of like these context. Okay, characters, setting, opening and closing lines. I am giving you these, but reading the story is your work. Just firstly go through all these work which I have like discussed with you in the world literature. Just go through through these works. Just try to remember them. Just try to read them again and again. And I have my Telegram channel also. If you want these PDFs, then just try to find out this UGC @UGC English 16. Those who are interested in these PDF, just join this channel. Thank you.